Weird. As you can see, I got a Slytherin cup. People say, why Slytherin? Because that is what I test as a Slytherin. So now you know the truth of Natalie. I could see myself as a Slytherin. I will say that Snape probably was the best character in Harry Potter. So there. So yes, I got my Slytherin cup. Good morning. Oops, let me turn that down a little bit. Good morning, Cantis. So yesterday we were discussing or talking about the support system of, being a listener. Like, that's the first step to healing through your emotional states. And being a listener, opening up the space or being heard, and asking someone to be that space for you to hear you out, right? And so that was one of what Miriam Greenspan suggested as the first process to healing, right? Was that. So we're going to continue on listening to pain, which is, we're like now on page 15. Awesome. So I'm just going to continue going. Okay, not too surprising. Listening became my life's work. I'm comfortable with suffering that is spoken rather than silenced. I'm energized by listening. From this work, I've seen again and again the essence of healing emotional pain lies in listening to what hurts, in both knowing how to listen to oneself and being listened to by another. Again, finding that individual, finding that person, right? Good day from Vermont. Hello, Alfie. How are you from Vermont? How are things in Vermont? Are you guys closed? Are you guys open? Are you guys, what is it looking like, Ruby? We're pretty much shut down here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Lots of things shut down. Our best, most compassionate intentions are thwarted. Our connections marred by the shadow of intolerable emotions. We become inured to the incessant cacophony of the world's suffering, limiting our authenticity and responsiveness. And we suffer from not knowing the darker side of ourselves, okay? So dark emotions are uncomfortable. They are also contagious. Their energies flow through and between among us without regard for the boundaries we erect to keep ourselves separate. If we are unable to tolerate some discomfort, it's hard to listen to dark feelings in ourselves and in others. So, again, the dark emotions, uncomfortable, not comfortable, not easy, people want to avoid them. Thanks for trying to call in, Alfie. I actually do this on live on Facebook, so I don't take callers. I was thinking about doing coaching, though. I don't know if you're still on here, but doing a live coaching session with people, I think that would be awesome. I just got to find time among everything else that I do. Having people call in and ask questions, I think that would be pretty awesome. Okay, because of difficulty and the power of listening to pain, millions of people spend millions of dollars seeking out help, professional listeners called psychotherapists. To be a professional listener is to entertain terrain without destination. Listening is more than hearing words or deciphering meaning from the cuneiform of body language. Webster tells us that listening is hearing with thoughtful intention. But in listening closely, there's also a kind of suspension of thought. One listens with the limbic system, the third ear of intuition, as much as with the cerebral cortex, emptying oneself to allow another story to enter, opening the energetic movement of emotion. I like that. So we're basically being a platform for an open space. It's almost, if you thought about it, almost like a canvas, I would say. If you saw it like this open canvas for them to paint on in some form. Like, visually, that's how I've always thought of it or seen it. Good morning, Quadi. How are you? Woof, woof. So it's kind of being that opening canvas, and people spend, like they said, millions and millions of dollars on psychotherapists to listen to their pain. And they typically go to those psychotherapists because nobody in their life, typically people in our life, when we start to tell them our problems, they want to fix us. They want to fix us. They want to make us, good morning, Deanna. Good morning, Doreen. Hey, Doreen. I haven't seen you in a while. And hey, Deanna. Did you just finish working out? I've been kicking butt at the gym. Sometimes I just feel like I'm not getting anywhere, even though I go to the gym and work my butts off. Good morning, Julius. You guys, please chime in. I'm always open to comments as well. But again, we pay millions of dollars. People pay lots and lots of money to have a psychotherapist listen to them. Why? And it's because if we go to our friends or we go to our family and we tell them what's going on, like I said, they want to fix us. They want to tell us what the answer is. And we know what the answer is for ourselves, right? And sometimes the advice they're giving us is not really what we need. That's not really what we want. We just want someone to listen. Ooh, nice. Wait, you guys have the sauna? Where at? Or is it your own sauna? What gym is that has a sauna open? Please tell me, because I know Sports and Wellness doesn't. That's where I work there 1 day a week. Woo, woo. Or is it your personal sauna? And can I go over? Yeah, but let me know, because if that gym, I need a sauna. I need to sit in some heat. Sorry, I'm going off topic. I do this all the time, you guys. So they think they know what's best for us, right? They'll tell us like, oh, you should do this or you should do that, right? And we're hearing the advice of all these individuals and we're like, yeah, okay, but not really. I just want you to listen to me. And I'm the same way. I like people to listen to me because I have a lot to say. Obviously I do. I probably have about 1 billion hours of spirit and coffee talking. How can I run out of words? I don't know. For me, it's about being able to just communicate. And that's why I think this platform is so incredibly important for me. Like, I hope that people are getting something out of it. I know I'm definitely getting something out of it because I'm able to articulate and communicate and have people listen, right? And so you guys are listening on your end and you're being a facilitation of healing, right? So again, when you're speaking to someone and they're just listening, right? A psychotherapist doesn't know you. When you first go to see somebody and you're like, hey, I need you to listen to my problems, they're just there as an open vessel listening to what you're saying. That's literally what they're doing. And they get paid to do that. And we pay people to do that. So if you could find someone in your life who is willing to just listen without giving you any kind of advice about what to do and just listen, and not have to pay all kinds of money, that's awesome, right? And I'm sure there are people in your life that you can go to. I have my people. Of course, I'm a coach, a life coach, so I have other life coach friends, and so we trade off, Sometimes we'll be like, look, I need a coaching call. And they know that the coaching call is just about listening. They're not, that's what they do. They listen, and maybe they'll ask some powerful questions. Maybe they'll give suggestions at the end, but mostly it's a powerful question of how. Body Elite Fitness. Ooh, Body Elite. Okay, well, I'll have to check it out. Body Elite Fitness. I'm going to check it out. That's okay if it's one person at a time. As long as you guys, that's kind of nice, actually. You have your own personal sauna when you're in there. Good morning, as if. Is that what it is? As if. And then I don't know what the rest is. Okay. So we spend millions. Okay, so hearing with thoughtful intention. But in listening closely, there's also a kind of suspension of thought. One listens with the limbic system or the third intuition. Okay, as much as with the cerebral cortex, emptying oneself to allow another story to enter, opening the energetic movement of emotion, empathetically joining with someone else's experience. This is the secret of all successful therapy. Regardless of the training or theoretical orientation of the therapist, by a kind of grace. Good listening transforms suffering. In a culture that honors head more than the heart, the skill of good listening are generally not taught to trainees in the arts of psychotherapy. The would-be therapist learns to theorize and to analyze and to diagnose and prognosticate. Oh, I don't know what that word is. Sorry, prognosticate. That's what it looks like to me. To interpret or integrate, but not to listen. So when a person's suffering is well listened to in psychotherapy, an alchemic process is initiated, and that's what we're trying to get to. The alchemic process of the dark emotions. The alchemic process is the ability for us to tap into the understanding and knowing of what is going on internally with us, and to say, oh shoot, okay. And once that process starts to open, there starts to be this sort of transformation that happens. Like I was thinking, people don't change, right? People, it's funny. I mean, you can change. And when people say, well, yeah, people change. Okay, hey, Cecile, how are you? Oh, look, it's just a reunion of Cecile and Deanna. Cheers to you. So it's sort of like this. People, okay, they can change. And I'll say like me, I've changed, right? I was an alcoholic at one point and I quit drinking. That's a change. That's a transformation. But the basic temperament and the basic foundation that, we have doesn't necessarily change. What changes, if there is a change, is how we engage situations. That's what changes. So it's not necessarily the internal process of who we are. We can allow the internal process to shift and transform us into the way that we respond to certain situations. So here's the deal. I have abandonment issues. If abandonment shows up again, the internal feeling's gonna always be the same. That doesn't change. Or the story of abandonment doesn't change. It's always gonna be with me, okay? So as the abandonment is there, okay, good morning, Multisound, and the feeling of isolation or the feeling of rejection is there, it's not that changes or that my feeling towards it changes. What changes is the fact that I accept the feeling. That's what changes. That I allow myself to accept that feeling. Now, sometimes we need a person to listen to that feeling so that we can start to transform the internal dialogue around it. If not, we're getting fed input from the outside world on how we should change the way that we respond to a certain feeling, rather than listening to our internal self and our internal knowing to how to shift or change the dialogue with the feeling of what it is. And that's the dark emotions. So dark emotion would be like isolation or rejection, or not feeling like I belong, or feeling abandonment, okay? Abandoned, right? Feeling like I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, why? Okay, so the abandonment issue shows up. That doesn't change. The feeling and sensation in the body doesn't change for me. And it's not going to change for you guys either, because you guys have been sort of set these habits internally for how you respond to certain triggers in your life. So if someone pisses you off, or you're naturally get angry at things, right, it's not going to just go away. That's not how this works. So we'll feel the feeling internally, right? And we want to communicate it. We want to get it out. We want someone to listen to us. So we talk, and then we say, hey, look, here's what's going on with me. Do you have time to listen? Yeah, I have time to listen to you. Good morning, Rich. And you say, good morning, Ottawa. So you say, okay, so what's going on? All right, well, this is what's happening with me. I feel, like I'm abandoned, like she abandons me, my mom, whatever it is, my dad. Okay, so I'm just, making this up, but not making it up, because that's as a child, that's really was true. But saying, this is how I feel. And I feel like I feel like I was abandoned. I feel like I was left out. I feel like this. I feel like that. And the other person being the platform of just listening in the open vessel, I'm able to get it up and out. And as I hear myself talk, right, I start to figure out this new dynamic. There's this sort of transformation that starts to happen internally because there's no one there to give me feedback. We're looking for the feedback, and then if no one gives us feedback, we have only ourselves to look to. And we start to listen to that internal voice, and we're like, oh my God, what am I talking about right now? If someone, it's funny, good morning, Mel. I've done this so much with people. I'll just sit and listen. I wasn't always a good listener, right? It took a long time for me. I always wanted to fix people. I thought people needed to be fixed all the time. And and so I would just, try to give my input. Like, I know what's wrong. I know how to fix it, and then learning how to be a good listener. Literally, it's funny because what I'll do is I'll sit there and I'll just listen. And people start listening to their own self because they keep talking. They never really had a person. Typically, we don't really have people who listen to us completely, fully, and wholly. I mean, it takes a lot of practice. It takes someone who's practiced in listening to really listen to an individual. And so it's almost like for the first time they've had somebody who truly cares and really listens to what they're saying. And I won't say anything. And the people will just keep going and 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 going. And they're like, I just, I told you guys yesterday, they're like, I just gave you my whole life story. Like, what the heck? And then I just look at them and I'm like, it's okay. That's good. Like, how do you feel? And then, or they'll be like, oh my God, what am I thinking? Like, what am I saying? Or if someone's angry and you just let them be angry, even if it's at you, and you just open up the space and let them talk. I've done this so many times. And they start hearing what they're telling you, and they're like, what? They start thinking like, God, I'm not a very nice person, or that's not very kind. They start to feel into themselves and listen to their own internal dialogue, and they're like, oh, holy crap. Like, what? Because they've never had someone truly listen. They're not even listening to themselves. And then they don't even really know what they're saying. They're just blurting out stuff because they're angry or they're frustrated or whatever it is. But once that clicks for them and they go, wow, like, I didn't realize I had all this stuff inside of me. I didn't realize I had this. They start to raise their awareness, right? Good morning, Nana. They raise their consciousness just above, like their subconscious mind raises just above the conscious level to look at it, to be able to dissect it, and then to drop it back in and say, okay, now I know how to shift this energy. Good morning, Lisa. How to shift the energy. So how do we shift it, right? So it's allowing ourselves and trusting our internal process and trusting our internal dialogue to lead us to that. And so for me, out of curiosity, like I said, I ask a ton of questions. I'm typically like, well, why this, why that? I'm like curious, why? And then I'll ask. So again, listening is a powerful tool. Powerful. Super powerful. Like I said yesterday, you guys are all now healers of the planet if you become listeners to individuals, because now you're allowing people to heal through you, through your ability to be an open vessel of listening. Okay. Because it's difficult. Okay, millions of institutions. Okay, when a person suffering is well listened to in psychotherapy and alchemic process is initiated, as I said before, something that starts out as a desperate but inarticulate anguish or a mysterious painful sensation in the body begins to cohere as a story. Sometimes a new, unexpected story, story or story fragment emerges. A hazy memory of being sexually attacked by a gang of boys because personalized with the faces of the attackers, among whom is a brother and a cousin. A quick flashing image of a father holding a gun to his head as he ponders killing himself emerges in an instant. Is the story real? The storyteller often asks, did it really happen? News story fragments are jarring and must be incorporated gradually. Other times, it's not a new story that emerges, but an old one felt for the first time, known in all the fullness. The emotions no longer sequestered away in the dark room where no one can hear them. A sense of renewed vitality emerges. So it starts to open up the space for new information to come in. Okay. Good morning, PVG. Good morning, Gift Love. Good morning, Karyasma. Karyasma. Sometimes these names on Podbean, I don't know how to say them, but I apologize. Gift Love. Gift Love. I like that. Yes, we need to gift more love into the world. Put in a nice, beautiful package. That's what I'm trying to do, gift love. I try to give love every day. Sometimes it's hard. I want love to be easy. Why is it gotta be so complex? I mean, it's not complex. I know it's us, but... Whew. Okay. Okay, the reward of listening, however, are not always expected or welcome. Robert comes to therapy wanting to explore his marriage. He has been married for 12 years and has 3 young children. He is not happy with his wife. He would like her to be a better listener. Gradually, Robert speaks more and more honestly of suffering in his relationship. He begins to realize that it's not just Jane who has not been listening to him. He has not been listening to himself. So there you go. He wants people to listen to him, yet he doesn't listen to himself. This happens all the time, right? I want people to love me, but I don't love myself. I want people to be proud of me, but I'm not proud of myself. I want people to... We're looking for it on the external. And then really sometimes all the answers are internally with us, right? Hello. Is that silent drink? Silent drink. What does that mean? Silent drink. It means you drink very quietly. I don't know. Just kidding. Okay. As you start to listen to yourself more. Okay, hold on. Honestly, suffering relation begins to Jane, who's been listening. Okay, listen to himself. As he starts to listen to himself more, he is appalled by what he hears. His fear that his wife doesn't love him reverses itself. He realizes that the bigger fear is that he doesn't love her, that he has in fact never loved her, that he married her as a young man unaware of himself, of whom he was and why he was marrying. The story of Robert's suffering shifts from the story of an unsupportive wife to the story of a man who fears that he has never loved anyone and doubts that he is capable of love. This new story is worse than the story Robert came with. It forces him to confront the terrifying choice. Should he stay with the marriage or leave it? And there you go. That is, so I love that, because the clearer that we get, right? I didn't know that was the email this app was using. Oh, yeah, it is. And I don't know what it means. If you want to just explain that, that's cool. Oh, let's go back to this. Sorry, scroll again. I like these names that people come on with Podbean are pretty cool sometimes. I'm like, what? And sometimes a bunch of letters, and I'm like, how do I say good morning to, like, well, because PBG, I say PBG, but it's PBG 5C8. I don't even know. I could try to say it. Pagif 5 say Okay. The internal dialogue. Oh yeah, getting clear, getting super clear. Like as we clear the cobwebs, right, in our brain, and we start to get clearer, we come to a choice. And that's the power of being a human being. Now, choice is important. Understanding that we have a choice. And sometimes we don't want to come to those choices because they're scary. It is scary to say, like this guy, I never really wanted to marry her. Maybe I never really loved her. Maybe I just did it because I wanted to do it. Maybe, who knows? But we come to this point where we have to make a decision. We have to make a choice. We have to go either this direction or that direction. And that is scary. So typically people will be like, I don't know. And the I don't know doesn't allow for new possibility to arise. I don't know means I don't have clarity. That's really what that means. Or I don't want to accept the truth. Or I don't want to accept the reality that's happening internally. Now, not the truth in capital T, but what's true for me. I don't want to accept that perhaps I made a decision that was incorrect, and I'm just going to continue to go down this road even though I know that I'm not happy with it. Because then I might have to face the choice that I'm going to choose something different and that I have to leave this. And perhaps it's a relationship or a job or whatever it is. And that choice is scary. So people would rather exist in the uncomfortable, comfortable, which is kind of funny, the uncomfortable, comfortable, rather than say, you know what? I understand where the root of this suffering is coming from, and now I have to make a choice. Do I want to continue to suffer, or do I choose out of the suffering? But sometimes choosing out of the suffering almost feels like you're giving up the comforts that you've created in the suffering, which is really kind of ass backwards when you think about it. We've sort of like numbed ourselves out to the suffering and become comfortable in it. And then when we're faced with it to the point where we're in complete surrender of the suffering, that we then break down to make a choice out of the suffering, which is uncomfortable too. So it's not like we're ever comfortable. Like, that's where growth happens, in being uncomfortable. So listening to the internal dialogue, getting clear, the clarity around it, right? Being super clear. If you bump into I don't know, that's either a cop-out and I don't want to accept it, or you're completely confused. And if you're any one of those things, my suggestion to you is to dig deeper so that you do know, so that you're clear. You're clear that, yeah, I have these choices I have to make. Like this guy who's coming down to a choice of, wow, did I ever love this woman? Did I want to be with her? Then he's coming to that realization, but he probably feels like a total jackwagon and didn't want to accept that because maybe he's be looked at like an asshole or whatever it is. And that's it. Sometimes we just would allow ourselves to suffer and then put that suffering on other people because we're too afraid to make the choice. We're too afraid to say, you know what? Maybe I don't love you. I'm sorry. Because why? We don't want to hurt another person, right? But are we hurting them? Are we helping them? At first, they might say, oh yeah, we're hurting them. However, you're holding their energy hostage as well. Okay? And that's just one scenario. That's what the book has given us, like this relationship things. There's other things, right, in our brain that we don't know. Should I leave the job or stay at the job? The job's paying the bills, but I'm super unhappy. And if I just act like I don't know, I'll stay there. I'm comfortable in my suffering at this point until I get sick and total breakdown and have to force myself out of it, or I'm surrendered to leaving. So listening to our internal dialogue forces us to make a choice. It'll bring us to that place where we have to choose. And then that choice is super uncomfortable because now we're like, holy crap. Do I get rid of the job that's been paying my bills for life? Like, this is like, or I have 5 years to retire. Do I just bear the suffering for 5 years? Or do I leave? Hey, Kumar. Not easy. That's why life gets a little complicated. But here's the deal. And here's what Spirit and Coffee is about. And here's what I'm about. Okay? Faith. Like, literally, I have left positions, jobs. I will walk out. I will not compromise my integrity. And I know, and trusting and having faith that when I do walk out, and if I do it with the intention of a good heart, because I know internally I'm doing this for the salvation of my own soul, of my own spirit, that I can have faith that whatever comes next is going to be beautiful and perfect. and then I'm going to be taken care of. Now that's scary for people because they're like, now what do I put in the place of this? Like, I'm leaving my job. What? Now what? Holy crap. That unknown, that fear. Oh, I have to tell this person I don't really love them. Now what? Now what do I do? It becomes this complex thing, and playing the human game is not an easy thing. It's not an easy task. So kudos to you for you guys playing it, because we're all here playing the game together, which is super complex and hard and not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. Living is not easy. It's not. And if someone says it is, well, good for them. I'd like to know. They're probably denying a lot of stuff. Everybody goes through these choices and sufferings and things that they have to come to. Even the Dalai Lama, he was forced out of his own country. He had to come to the decision to leave. Right? Even the Pope. Even imagine all of the stuff that came on the Pope, the Queen, people say, oh, well, these people in higher places. No, they still have to go through it. They're human. I'm sorry. They're not supernatural people. They're human. They're humans just like we are. And so they have to go through it too. Right? They just may be better practiced at it. I would say maybe the Dalai Lama is better practiced at going through this and understanding and having faith. And that's where faith comes in, and that understanding. But to come to the decision, come to a choice, and recognize the internal dialogue that either holding you back from your full potential. Okay? So it's cool. It's Arnold email address, whose original purpose is no longer. Now it's just a secondary I rarely use. Oh, okay. It's an old, or I said Arnold. I see R. God, I must need glasses or something. It's an old email address, whose original purpose is no. Got it. So maybe it was a business or something. Okay, so there you have it. Again, listening, opening up the gates to listening, that is where the healing process starts. Listen to yourself. If no one's going to listen to you, listen to yourself. See what happens. Just listen to your dialogue. Everybody's like, oh, I think back in the day, oh, people who have voices in their head must be crazy. I'm like, oh, I have about 20. That must make me really, really, really crazy. Like 20 times crazy. But those voices in my head, everybody has them. Nobody, we all have an internal dialogue going on. Some people just refuse to listen to them. And some of them know what's best. And the eternal wisdom or guide, let's just say that's your internal God or goddess with the small g, right? That's coming through to guide you. And we have the power to tap into that and to listen to that as well. So while we might have individuals who listen to us, we can maybe, I talk out loud sometimes. Like, I'm crazy. I'll even answer myself, so I'm probably even crazier, because I'll be like, da 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 da, God. And then I'm like, oh yeah, but what about that, God? Okay, yeah, I get it. Do I get it? Yes, I get it. Okay, thank you. And that's it. That's like the conversation with myself, which is just me trying to go through the process of what might be happening internally. And that's all you're doing, is you're just allowing yourself to go through that internal dialogue, that internal process that helps you to alchemize those uncomfortable situations. But you internally have the answer to those things. You have the answer. Okay? All right. So I hope this was helpful. And again, I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. And then I will be on vacation a little bit, but I think I might get on here anyway. And maybe in the future I will do an in-call coaching session for people to call in. That would be kind of nice in the Podbean. See if we can get some coaching going. That would be fun, I think, if people are willing to. Anywho, so have a wonderful day. It's Taco Tuesday. So have a good Tuesday. You guys are phenomenal. I'm very proud of you. Listen to yourself. Know that that internal dialogue, that internal guidance is there for you. May God be with you, the universe, whatever you call it, that internal energy that's guiding you may be with you internally and always, which it is, and that you remember that, okay? And you guys are beautiful, and I love you so much. So, mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a fantastical day. I will see you all